January 17, 2025. Welcome to your new backcountry snowpack summary brought to you by North Shore Rescue. If you like deep snow, you are probably in a fairly dark place right now. While everybody seems to be enjoying the sunshine, maybe you've actually murdered a small animal with your bare hands to try to appease the snow gods. If that's the case, then you probably need a little bit of help from John Denver to help you find the strength to accept what you can't change.
Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy.
So without too much avalanche activity to talk about, we're going to make the most of it and get a little bit nerdy about snow science. So if you're wondering why it was 9 degrees up here yesterday and on north sides we can still find nice dry snow, and also what that means for when we eventually get out of this dry period, stick around for the snowpack discussion. We're just above 1,200 meters on the north aspect. On this site we have 1.80 meters on the ground. And I don't really want to spend too much time talking about all of this because we talked about it quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. It's fairly well settled. There is some hard crusts in there all the way through with some weaker snow in between. And sure enough, if you isolate a column, you can actually get some test results on these sort of weaker layers between the crusts, but the crusts are so strong that would be very surprising to see any avalanche activity on these sort of weaker grains underneath. So what I want to talk more about this week is this top layer here. So we have 10 centimeters of pretty weak snow sitting on that crust right there. And it's a little bit surprising maybe to find that dry, soft snow, given that in the last couple of days it was up to 9 degrees up here. So what's important to understand is that being on the north aspect, we don't actually get any solar radiation hitting this site. So there's more outgoing infrared radiation than there is incoming solar radiation. And the other thing too is because we had a low relative humidity, the air is pretty dry. There's a lot of moisture leaving the snowpack, and that further cools the top layer. So even though it was well above freezing, the north aspects under these conditions of clear skies and low relative humidity will remain reliably nice and dry. And this brings us to talk about our main topic for this week, which is snow metamorphism. A snowpack is a whole bunch of tiny little ice structures or snow crystals that are interlocked together with air surrounding them. As soon as a snow crystal is part of the snowpack, it will start to give off moisture, which will in turn cause the air surrounding the crystal to become super saturated, so greater than 100% relative humidity, which means that this moisture will have a tendency to condensate and freeze on the other crystals around. So there is a lot of moisture in a snowpack, and it will tend to travel in the snowpack from areas that are warmer, generally closer to the ground, to areas that are colder, typically closer to the surface. Now, there's three things that can happen to a snow crystal when it's in the snowpack. It can go through a melt-freeze cycle, which of course is going to form crusts. It can form rounds, or it can form facets. And rounds will tend to bond together very well and lead to a very strong snowpack and layers that stick well together, as opposed to facets, which is this very sugary snow that has very little cohesion and leads to weaker snowpack. What determines whether we're going to talk about rounds or facet is the temperature gradient, which drives the speed at which the moisture travels in the snowpack. So if we're looking at the top layer of dry snow sitting on that crust here, that top 10 centimeters, if we measure the temperature right at the crust, the snow temperature is actually -5 degrees, while the air temperature right now is just a little bit warmer than -3, but let's call it -3. So that's a 2 degrees Celsius temperature gradient within 10 centimeters. And that tends to drive moisture fairly quickly through the snowpack and will lead to faceting. So when it makes perfect sense now that when we're looking at this snow on the surface, you can't really make a snowball with that. It doesn't stick to each other. Those crystals are very weak. So is this layer of facet, 10 centimeters of facet sitting on a hard crust, a problem? Well, it's not a problem now, and it may not be a problem in the future. It really depends on how we're going to get out of this dry and cool spell that we're experiencing right now. So with the sustained clear skies and cool temperature, we can expect this layer to just keep on faceting on north aspect. We can expect to have stronger and deeper sun crust on the solar aspect developing throughout the day. And then it really all depends what kind of weather is going to come to get us out of here. So different scenarios, it could rain. If it rains, this is going to get saturated very quickly. We might have like a very, very small wet loose cycle because it's only 10 centimeters. And then that's probably going to be the end of it. On the other end of the spectrum, like the worst case scenario would be gradual incremental loading of that layer. So, you know, you get a 3 centimeter one day and 5 centimeters the other day and 1 centimeter, and then you slowly build a more cohesive snowpack on top of these facets. As we come out of this, this will become our layer of concern. For now, projecting into the weekend and into the start of next week, there's not really going to be a whole lot of weather happening. So we're not really expecting the avalanche hazard to change. That's all I have for this week. Stay safe this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy.